The overall effect is you remove the hypergamy by making women replaceable. Well, I mean, because once that happens, the app 10s on speed dial comes out, and then all of this economic model of cheap pussy actually becomes a thing. Because if the market is still illegal, you don't remove that. You don't remove the overpricing at all. Just because women out here doing whatever they want doesn't mean the price is cheap. They just go. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Go for it.
yeah. So let me. Okay. So I'm trying to understand the connection between hypergamy and the price of sex, meaning price of pussy. Okay. So hypergamy, my understanding of that is a woman's desire to mate with a man of higher social economic class. Do I have that right?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So what does that have to do with bringing the price of pussy down?
Okay. So if women don't date down or whatever, all of the ones that you want, the sixes and up, they don't want you because they don't have to pick you. They participate in soft polygamy. They pick only the top dudes, and we've had these arguments for years.
Yeah, like it's scientifically validated. We got that.
Right. So because of that, once you bring in a factor that takes away that kind of power, then you remove that kind of hypergamy. They're all replaceable. Once you make women replaceable, they have to play ball. This is why in other countries you see dimes that are married, because they're replaceable. They have legalized prostitution.
What other countries would you be talking about?
Oh shit, South America, Africa, some parts of Europe, shit, almost all over where they have actual legalized prostitution.
I see.
But this is why you see married dimes. Like if you travel to other countries, you'll see chicks that are like that would be a 10 is a 10 anywhere. I mean, a 10 is a 10 anywhere. So if you see a 9 or a 10 in another country that's actually married to some dude, and we don't have that here, there's a reason for that. Their women are replaceable. You can just replace them. If they don't play ball, you replace them.
Right. So okay. So what?
There's been a lot of talk about the laws needing to be changed. And, over the years, particularly in spaces like this, you've heard many, many men have several different conversations and throw several different ideas at the wall, speaking on what needs to be done to fix the community, to fix families, to get women in order, to help more men get married and have families. And I've heard some crazy things, which is why I played the clip at the beginning, because men have gone as far to say that, you know what? We need to legalize prostitution so that way, you heard the clip, but legalize prostitution, because if you legalize prostitution, you commoditize a certain segment of women. Also, you eliminate the thirst in men because they can just it's just, man. But fellas, I'm here to tell you something. I've also heard things like, we need to get rid of no-fault divorce, and we need to change some things so that way when you get a divorce, the woman walks out with just what she walked out with, or something that's fair. We need to change the child support and child custody. I've heard all these things. Men don't have rights and women have the power and yada, 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 right? But fellas, I'm here to tell you something that you're probably not going to agree with, but hey, it is what it is. What's going to help men have better outcomes in situations with women is not laws being changed. That's right, men, we don't need laws to be changed. What men need is to develop a sense of righteousness. I know, but let me explain it to you. You don't need laws changed. You need to become a righteous man. Let me explain to you what I mean. See, a righteous man, meaning a man that is living off of a set of morals, values, and principles, operates in a particular way with women that insulates him from the problems of the everyday guy. So let's break that down. First of all, a righteous man understands what marriage is and what it's supposed to be. See, because we talk a lot about what women should and should not do when it comes to being married. They should do this and they should do that. And they shouldn't get a divorce. And yeah, we speak very clearly on the expectations of women within a marriage. But a lot of us, we fail to realize what marriage means to the man. And so what does marriage actually mean? When you marry a woman, you are making a covenant with her that says you will love her, protect her, provide for her until one of you dies, no matter what. Think about that. If you really got into a situation, if you really got into a marriage believing that that's what marriage was, a lot of you would have been more careful in terms of who you picked to begin with. If you truly, in your heart and in your mind, believe that, you know what? If I'm marrying this woman, I'm saying I'm going to provide for her, take care of her, love her, be there for her, no matter what happens, until one of us dies. If you really walked into it with that mind state, that would change, first of all, who you even dealt with. Because if you were going into it thinking that this is forever no matter what, your criteria on who you chose would probably change. It wouldn't be so much so about what she looked like and how good she is in bed and all that superficial stuff. It would be more about her character, her belief system. That's what it would be about. Because it would be foolish of you to get into a lifelong commitment that you cannot get out of. It would be very foolish for you to get into that type of commitment with someone who isn't making an equal commitment. So right then and there, who you go after would change, because if you're going to make that commitment to somebody, you need to know that they're making the exact same commitment to you. So right off the rip, a bunch of women who don't take marriage seriously would be off the table for you because it just wouldn't make sense. Then on top of that, you would also filter out a lot of different women based upon their personality and how they behave. Because it wouldn't make sense for you to voluntarily make that commitment to somebody whose behavior you don't agree with, whose behavior is not conducive to a lifelong commitment. So right then and there, just by you being a righteous man, you avoid many of the women that need to be avoided. You see, because I've said this before, I'll say it again. Oftentimes, when men talk about laws being changed, what they really want to happen is they want the government to take away the consequences of them making a bad choice. They want to be able to deal with whoever they want to deal with, however they want to deal with them, without having to worry about the consequences of it. But see, if you are living a righteous life or striving to live a righteous life, and you understand what marriage is, you significantly decrease the chances of you dealing with the wrong woman, because you're going to filter out a lot of women from the jump, because it doesn't make sense to make that level of commitment to just any old body. Now let's talk about, because I'm going to go through certain things that guys say laws should be changed about, right? So let's talk about having children. If you approached having children righteously, you wouldn't need laws changed, because you would just move completely differently. So let's go through this. A righteous man understands the magnitude and the importance of having children and who he has children with. He understands that the mother of his children is a very important person. They have a large impact on the childhood experiences of the child, the belief system of the child, setting up the child for success in the future, whether the child is whole and has a strong mental makeup, or whether the child has trauma that hinders them in adulthood. He understands that this woman should be cared for and taken care of by him. Since this woman has had his children and continued his lineage and his bloodline, it's only fair, it's only right that he look after this woman permanently. Why? Because once again, this woman is a very integral part, not just for your lineage and your legacy and your last name and your reputation, but they have a very huge role in the outcomes of your child. So you want this woman to be healthy financially, to be healthy physically, to be healthy emotionally, and to be healthy spiritually. Why? Because this is the other person who is pouring into your child and helping them develop. The healthier the parents, the healthier the child is going into adulthood. The more whole the parents are, the more whole the child is going into adulthood. So you want this woman operating at her best, not just because you owe that to her for bringing your children into the world, but you want her operating at her best because that is what's best for your child. See, the righteous man understands that it's all about the future generations and the children. And the best way to set the children up for success is to make sure that the children's parents are successful. And so when you have that mind state, guess what? You're not worried about, we need to change the child support laws and custody and all these kinds of things. Why? Because if you're going into it with the mind state of, listen, if this woman has my child, I need to cover her indefinitely. All of a sudden now you're not deciding who you have kids with by who looks good, who has a big booty, who's good in bed. Oh, I was horny that night. Oh, I just wanted to feel it without the condom. No, you understand how important it is, and you understand the obligation that you're going to have to the woman that has your child. And so once again, what do? You filter out women who are not conducive to that commitment. Because no matter how good a woman may look, no matter how nice her body is, no matter how good in bed she may be, if I'm going to cover the mother of my children indefinitely, I need to make sure I'm picking a quality person. That's one going to embrace and fall up under my covering, who's mentally, emotionally, and physically stable enough to where it even makes sense for me to even engage with her in the beginning. Someone who has the same view and belief system concerning the importance of family and of parents working together and building up the children for the future, who understands the importance of last name and legacy and lineage. So right then and there, you're going to filter out a boatload of women automatically. But once again, guys want legal protection from their own bad decisions. They want to be able to choose whoever they want to choose based on whatever superficial criteria they have and not have to worry about any consequences for it. But guess what? When you have a baby with the wrong woman, sometimes there are consequences. When you have a child with a woman who does not understand the importance of family and working together and building up the child, sometimes there's a consequence. Don't go to the law and say, law, change things around to eliminate consequences from me. No, you need to make better decisions. Because once again, if you went into marriage and having children as if these were very serious, lifelong commitments that impacted not only you, but your generations, you'd make different choices. Instead, you want to sit around and say, oh man, women have the power. You know when women have power? Women have power when men make bad decisions concerning who they involve themselves with. When men choose the wrong woman for the wrong reason and enter into the wrong commitments with that wrong woman for the wrong reason, then in that situation, yes, that woman has power. When you impregnate somebody you should never have impregnated, she has power. When you marry someone you should have never married, she has power. But the righteous man is always in power in his situations. Because there are certain women, he has the power to say yes and to say no. He has the power to lead his life, his legacy, and his lineage in the way that he sees fit. And he chooses based upon his own set criteria. And in that situation, even if for some reason it doesn't work out, because of the type of woman that he chose, things can still stay together. Because we fail to talk about this, but if we're going to keep it real, there are plenty of people who, for whatever reason, decide they're going to get a divorce or they're going to break up or they're going to be separated. But guess what? There are situations in which they break up, but business is not all out in the street. The mom is not trashing the dad is not trashing the mom. They still have a solid relationship. They can still get together for holidays. They still get together for milestones in the child's life. They still work together. They still speak regularly. He still provides things for her. She still provides things for him. A lot of times she even keeps the last name and may or may not ever remarry. But see, that's what happens when you do things righteously. Even when it fails, it still works. And so, no, you don't need laws to be changed. You need to change your perspective in how you approach marriage, childbearing, and even sexual activity. Because there's a lot of talk about Me Too and false allegations and Jonathan Majors and all these different kinds of other situations that happen. But guess what? If you had a righteous mind state, and listen, I'm not lecturing you or anything like that. I'm just telling you what it is. Because truth be told, if you've been listening to me, you already know. This is not how I've operated for the majority of my life, right? It's not. I'm just telling you what it is, though. I'm not acting like this is something I've been doing since I was 18 years old. No. But now that I know what the real is, I'm just going to share it with you. So I'm not saying like, oh, I've always been. No, I have not. All right. But the righteous man understands that if I'm going to deal with a woman sexually, matter of fact, let's rewind a little bit. The righteous man understands that I have no business engaging with the woman if I have no plans of pouring into that woman. I have no business trying to sleep with that woman if I have no intentions of helping that woman. The righteous man understands that it is not right for me to come across a woman and use her for my sexual pleasure and nothing else. He understands that once I get into a woman's life, it is my responsibility to make her life better. I don't just come into a woman's life for what I can take. And so guess what? The women that he engages with sexually is cut drastically. Why? Because if engaging with the woman means I need to pour into her, I need to offer her some type of covering, I need to help her, I need to be there for her, I need to choose wisely in the type of woman that I'm engaging with in the first place. So once again, regardless of how sexually attractive she is and all those kinds of things, she has to have a certain level of belief and understanding. She has to have a certain level of behavior and class and elegance and grace. She has to carry herself a certain way. She has to have certain beliefs, because I don't just engage with women for what I can get out of it. But if I engage with the woman, I have every intention of pouring into this woman. And I can't be attaching myself to just any old woman. See, if you adopt that mindset, first of all, the number of sexual partners you will have will drastically decrease. The number of women that you even engage in any type of sexual way will drastically decrease. And the chances of you having any type of Me Too or sexual assault allegations is all but nil, if you are operating righteously. You see, you have to move to a place where it's no longer about the excitement that comes along with being able to get women. A lot of us have not progressed past that point yet. We are still entangled in with the excitement and the feeling and the pleasure of being able to get with women. We have to graduate from the excitement and the fleshly fulfillment of being able to engage with a new woman and move to a place where we understand our value and our responsibility. And it becomes not about how many women we can get, but about what women we need to stay away from. A lot of us have not graduated from the acquisition of women to the disqualification of women. That's a very important step. At some point, you have to move away from how many women I can get and move to, I understand my value, I understand my purpose, I understand how much I have to offer. And so at this point, it's not about how many women I can get. It's about making sure I am eliminating women to keep them away from pulling me down. You see, A lot of men talk about men are the prize and all this kind of stuff, but you're not acting like your prize. I think it's feminine for men to call themselves the prize to begin with, but whatever, 2024 guys do weird things, right? But if you are on this rhetoric of you being the prize and all this other kind of stuff, you should act like a prize. You've all been to, Six Flags, King's Dominion, Disney World, and they have the carnival games, and there's prizes. Everybody doesn't get a prize. And everybody doesn't get the same prize. There's bigger and better prizes based upon what? Your performance. Your performance and ability to execute a task determines what prize you get. And as a matter of fact, if you really think about these carnival games, you have to pay for the privilege to earn the prize. Just think about that for a second. You can't play these carnival games at these amusement parks for free. If you want to play the game to win the teddy bear, you have to pay for the right to play the game to even win the teddy bear. So just think about that. First, you have to pay to even have the opportunity. Then you have to perform in order to win the prize. So there's several barriers of entry for real prizes. So if you're a man talking about you're the prize, I don't expect you to be out here just sleeping with any and everybody. Because there should be multiple barriers of entry in order for a woman to deal with you. There just should be. Her character and how she carries herself should be the payment before she can even play to win the prize. And then after she pays with her character and behavior, then her mindset and how she lives her life and her understanding of her role and responsibility in your life, that's how she wins the prize. But how are you calling yourself a prize and there's no barriers of entry for women to get involved with you other than being sexually attractive? You don't really believe you're the prize. If you really felt like you were the prize and you got something to offer and you got something to lose, it wouldn't be about how many women you can get. It would be about how many women you can eliminate to protect yourself because you're valuable. And ladies, it's the same thing for you. It's not about, I'm sexually liberated and I'm grown and I can do what I want and I got a roster of men and all that kind of stuff. Listen, if you really feel as though you're the prize, you're valuable, you're a queen, all this other kind of stuff, there's barriers of entry. Like, think about it. How you gonna call yourself a queen and you dealing with multiple men? Everybody don't have access to the queen. Only a certain type of individual has access to the queen. So you should act like it. But yeah, just to close this out, laws don't need to be changed. Men just need to be more righteous. It was funny because I was reading Exodus literally yesterday, right? And something that jumped out to me was this. When God was laying out the law to Moses, one law really jumped out to me. He said, look, if a man can tempt a virgin and he lays with the virgin, he has to pay the bride price to the father. So from the beginning of time, casual sex has always had a price since the beginning of time. This Me Too and all this kind of stuff, that's nothing new. You always had to pay for having casual sex. Once again, when God gave the law to Moses, he told him straight up, look, if a man lays with a virgin, he must pay the father the bride price. That's what God basically said. Look, If you meet a woman who's a virgin and you sleep with her, guess what? That's your wife now. And here's the crazier part. He said if the father refuses to have him as a son-in-law, he still has to pay the money, but he doesn't get the wife. Casual sex has always been costly for men. Since the beginning of time, look, if you you lucky it's not back then. It's Me Too now, but back then it was like, oh, you slept with her? Okay, that's your wife now. If the father doesn't accept you, then she's not your wife, but you still got to pay as if she is. That's how that was. So no, fellas, laws don't need to be changed. You got to be more righteous.